Well, hi again, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Sports Talk. Doug Miles along with Don Henderson as we come to you again from beautiful Sarasota on a beautiful mid-May day. Don, I know you just got back from a little vacation in New Orleans.
Yes, it was. It was beautiful down there as well, but we're in the height of the season right now. It is absolutely perfect today, and we got a lot of things to talk about.
A lot of things going on, obviously, in all walks of sports, but we'll start with a couple of really important sports icons that we lost in the last week. We'll start with really one of the most interesting quarterbacks. One of the first guys I remember watching, actually the first Super Bowl I watched was back the 1970 Super Bowl IV, Minnesota against Kansas City, and the great Joe Kapp passed away this week.
Yeah, Phil Mushnick got a little blip in the paper yesterday in the New York Post, and talked about he threw some passes, but only a few of them had spirals.
That's right.
But he won the biggest game of the year when he won the Super Bowl, and
well, he got to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Kansas City beat him. Yeah.
He was a quarterback that liked to run through people rather than around them.
Yeah, he was not the kind of a Billy Kilmer type, right? Not a flashy kind of quarterback, but he would put his head down. I was watching some of the video highlights up on YouTube this week, and he would just run right through the line. He wouldn't take a slide for any time.
No, he was just a warrior. That's what he was. But when he threw the ball, he did not throw it very.
Giant quails.
Nope, it was just sort of bobbled around.
He had a good career in the Canadian Football League. And then Bud Grant, who coached in the CFL one time, knew about him and brought him in after they traded Tarkenton to the Giants.
Well, there were a couple, and of course Dick Vermeil was fortunate enough in St. Louis. So Warner came in from the Canadian League, also came in from the kind of football we had in Sarasota here for a while. He played in that league for a period of time, and then he went to the Cardinals, and the rest is history.
Yeah. So Joe Kapp, 85. Sadly, he had dealt with Alzheimer's the last several years. He was actually coach of California's alma mater, and remember that great play where the band came on the field?
Yeah.
He was the coach of that game where they won.
That was a very unusual situation. If they thought the game was over, and they kept running through the band and into the end zone and wound up losing the game. And but you're right. We've had a couple of coaches, great coaches now that are having that kind of a problem with the Alzheimer's. Bobby, we talked a little bit about Bobby Knight last week. He's having some difficulty with that, and it's more prevalent than you would necessarily think.
Yeah, too bad about that. Who knows if the concussions led to it? A lot of football players are going through that. But,
yeah.
And Kapp was also an actor. You saw him in a lot of TV shows for a while. A lot of football players went into acting from that era, but a good life. And we had a chance to interview his son about 3 years ago when he wrote a book about his dad. So Dad led a good life, but 85, Joe Kapp. And another great pitcher from the early 70s, of course, those Oakland A's teams that won 3 championships in a row. Vida Blue passed away, 83.
He came on the scene in a dynamic fashion. He just came in, and it was overpowering. And for 3 years there, or 4 years there, they just couldn't hit him. He was an outstanding player. And again, died a little bit too young. Some of these people now that are passing away in the last few weeks that we've talked about, not as old as you would think.
No. Now, he had a great, like you said, beginning of his career, about 3 or 4 years, then kind of fell off a bit. I believe he had some personal issues that he dealt with, but came back with the Giants later in his career and pitched quite well. Really a guy that you think should have won 300 games and probably should have had 3,000 strikeouts in his career. I think he wound up around 200 wins, around that. A good career, but really should have been a Hall of Famer, I think.
Another one we lost is Denny Crum. He died, I think he was 82.
Right.
And a great basketball coach. And unfortunately, as we said, we've
Louisville for many years, right?
Last couple of weeks, we've just sort of hit on a number of guys that have take that last curtain call.
Yeah, you probably knew Denny from doing the Temple games.
Absolutely,
right?
Knew him very well, and very, very good coach, and a very, very, very nice guy.
Yeah, really one of the legends, and pretty much a clean program his whole career. You never heard much negativity about him, right?
I'll tell you, they were always on the borderline. Louisville was always on the borderline of having a few guys that were maybe a little questionable.
Is that right?
But he was a winning coach, ran a very good program, and It's too bad he just passed away.
They won one title, right?
I think one. I think he
I
won
remember him winning one, I believe. So yeah, look, Danny Crum, another one in there. But anyway, we just want to pay tribute to those three. But I guess the other story, Don, we can talk about more local, but I guess national in a sense. We had your friend Pat Williams on a couple of months ago talking about the Orlando baseball that he's trying to put together, and some news this week.
The Orlando Magic is the name that he liked to use, and he says
Well, the
that,
Dreamers for baseball.
yeah, they're trying very, very hard to get a franchise in Orlando. However, the latest information we saw during the course of the week, now that the Rays are starting to get a little bit more, generating a little bit more at the gate, I don't know if they're going to be able to move to Orlando. He was hoping they were going to be able to move that franchise to Orlando. He had a stadium all set up. He had $1.5 billion laid aside for a stadium and to move a franchise or an expansion franchise if they go in that direction. So it's going to be interesting to see. However, most of the things that we saw this week are saying he's a long shot.
Yeah, they said baseball does not want the Rays to move 150 miles, whatever, across state and just stay there. I think if baseball had its druthers, they prefer all the Rays move it to a different state. It looks worse, I think, in baseball's mind, is to have them move 150 miles away.
Well, they thought they had a great chance because of the fact that the turnstiles never really, matched up with a major league franchise. They weren't able to average better than 10,000 people a game. And, we're talking now 20-some years. And so there was a lot of pressure on the Rays to move somewhere, whether it was to Orlando.
Right.
Pat thought he had a great chance to just move them down. But we're just going to have to wait and see. I know he's still very enthusiastic about doing it. I wouldn't bet against him. He got the Magic down there.
Right.
He got the Rookie of the Year on the Magic team this year. That was improved over last year. He's done a lot of great things in sports. I wouldn't vote against him.
Yeah, I think his deal, just reading it kind of quick, not as much public money goes into it. I think he has a lot that the team would invest in it as opposed to public money.
Yeah, and he said that he had, when we talked to him, that he had a better than 10,000 season tickets guaranteed before they came in.
Right.
And so that
So you're matching the Rays right there.
that's exactly right. And but there was a big story in the Herald here in Sarasota yesterday about the improvement with the enthusiasm of the Rays getting off to this tremendous start.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden is starting to reflect on the turnstiles. How long that'll last or whether it will continue, I don't know. But at least it's a little bit of an impetus to stay where they are in St. Petersburg.
Yeah, and again, this is going to go on for a while now because the Rays' lease has got 3 years left, but the Rays got to make a decision soon.
That's a big problem. I mean, as you said, what are they going to do about the Trop? Are they going to get a new stadium? Are they going to build it in Tampa? And there's a lot of pressure now on the people in St. Petersburg and the people in Tampa to come up with some public money to fund all this. And so far, that's not happening.
No, people in Florida are fed up with financing stadiums, particularly
Right.
in Tampa Bay. The other stadium issue we've talked about before on the show, the Oakland A's, they look like they had their deal all in place to build that stadium right across, basically across the street from the MGM and not too far from the football stadium. But this week, apparently they made another deal to knock down the Tropicana Hotel, really one of the icons of Vegas hotels, and build it on that land. Apparently it involves less public money.
I didn't see the story. You told me about it earlier today, and certainly makes a lot of sense if you can build a stadium. They're looking, 35,000, something like that.
Right.
And they're getting very fortunate because the league's not going to charge them for the move.
Relocation fee, yeah.
So they would be in great shape, and I guess it would probably take 3 years. They'll have to play maybe where the minor league team plays
They're
now.
going to have to because you can't have that team play in Oakland in front of 2,000 people for another 3 years.
No, absolutely.
No way.
No, not only that, but they're not competitive. I mean,
No.
right now they're the dredges of baseball,
Awful.
and the commissioner's not going to go along with
Yeah,
that.
they have the minor league ballpark already there. It actually is the Oakland A's AAA team.
Yeah.
And it holds 10,000. They could add a few more stands to make it 15 if they needed to, if necessary. But yeah, Tropicana Hotel, that's one of the ones from back in the early 50s.
Back in the great days of Las Vegas.
Yeah. So that's the latest. Who knows if that's going to happen? But
yeah,
that's
not that
the
Las
latest.
Vegas isn't great today. It's got everything. And, you know, years ago, we weren't allowed to have baseball. We weren't even allowed to go into the casinos, the players, or any of that.
Right.
And now gambling is a part of the game.
Pete Rose probably likes this whole
Yeah.
thing. He lives out there, right?
Yeah, he's still there. He's still there.
We'll wrap up just quickly on the playoff situation. I know you follow the basketball with your 76ers and interesting games last night. Huh?
This is going to be the game today, later today, because they're playing, you know, Sixers pretty much, I thought, had to win it at home in Game 6. It did not happen. They beat, they lost to the Celtics in a big number in Game 6. Now they had to go up to Boston and play Game 7 today.
Yeah.
So they are certainly not an odds-on choice to win on the road.
Yeah, Celtics, throughout their history, have rarely lost a Game 7 at home.
Yes.
Going back to the old Boston Garden days, right?
No
I don't know if
question.
they've ever lost a Game 7 at home.
I don't know if they ever have, but I know we beat them one year in Game 6 up there.
Yeah.
But I think you have to say that the Celtics are going to be favored. The 76ers obviously have in Ibis the MVP of the league. He's had a tremendous year, scoring better than 30 points a game. So we'll wait and see what happens. But last night, Los Angeles, the Lakers held on, won by what?
About 20 points.
Yeah, pretty close to 20 points. And Curry did not have a real good night. LeBron wasn't the dominant factor, but the overall team last night played very well in Los Angeles, and they move on now to play Denver.
Denver, yeah. Hockey, Toronto, who beat the Lightning down here for the first time ever, I believe, in the playoffs. They ran into a tough team, and the Florida Panthers, and the Panthers knocked them out.
Everybody thought that Toronto was on the road to success. Two stories.
I thought they were going to win it all if they beat the
Yeah,
Lightning.
two stories there. One, they took out the Lightning, which was something of a rarity because they'd never beaten the Lightning in a playoff series any time. And the other thing was that their coach over the last since the Rangers lost and the Rangers fired their coach, there's conversation now that the coach from Toronto will move to the Rangers.
Yeah, Keefe is his name.
Yeah, so we'll just have to wait and see where that actually turns out.
Yeah, Rangers fire a coach after 2 years, over 100 points both years. Last year they made the semis. This year they get knocked out early, and bye-bye Gallant.
Well,
The man who took the
not only that-
Vegas Golden Knights to the finals in their first year.
not only that they lost, but they lost that last game, Game 7.
Yeah, it was getting blown out 4-0 in the deciding
and that
game.
was what
bad.
that really hurt. But at the same time, as you said, how many coaches are you going to get that are going to come in and rack up 52, 53, 54
Right.
points during the course of a season? He's done that now with several different teams.
Yeah.
And yet you fire him because he loses one game.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
I don't understand that.
When Emile Francis was there about 20 years. Remember Emile?
Yeah.
Of course, he was the GM too, so he couldn't fire himself.
Well, they've got quite a list of, we were talking about it at breakfast this morning, they've got quite a list of former Rangers that they're thinking of interviewing. Messier, as we said, keeps putting his name in the hat,
Right.
but he's not a favorite. And but they have 3 or 4 other candidates, and now, of course, the fellow from Toronto has just come into the running since they lost.
Yeah. And also out in the West, Golden Knights win last night, so they're ahead of the Dallas Stars.
Yeah.
Seattle trailing in their series, so it'll be interesting to see if Seattle can come back and be an expansion team in their second year to get to the next round. But no matter what they do, they're already ahead of the game.
I'll tell you, the 2 expansion teams, and you got to give Bittman all the credit in the world. And he had 2 expansion teams during his tenure in the National Hockey League, and both teams have been contenders in the very first year.
Yep.
And no other sport that I could think of
No, that never
had
happened.
a contender with a team that was an expansion team.
Except when '67, when you had those 6 new teams come in,
Yeah.
you had to have somebody in the West
Yeah.
to make it. But that's a different situation. Yeah. Oh, and also, what was the other team? Jersey gets knocked out by Carolina.
Yes, yes, they got knocked out.
So no New York hockey teams in there for all us New York hockey fans.
Well, they had 3 to start with, and now they have none.
They got nothing now.
They all went down the drain.
Well, that'll wrap it up for this edition. Don, I know you're heading back north. We will continue to do our shows periodically via telephone, but we won't be in our beautiful gazebo for a few months.
Okay, I'm looking forward to getting back to Jersey for a short time.
Keep
and
track of what's going on up there for us.
We'll track it down, and we'll do, as you say, we'll do a number of shows during the course of the off season on the telephone.
We'll do that. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you again soon.